Hey grasshoppers, it's almost the end of the day, but I was like, you know what? I want to send a video to the grasshoppers because I miss them. And I wanted to say that I loved the poems that you wrote this week about Primrose Hill. Everyone that was at home online on Monday and Tuesday, you wrote some really lovely poems about Primrose Hill. I've put them in the newsletter. Some of them, there was only room for 3 and it was really hard to choose. So I had to pick 3, but that is not to say that the rest of them weren't brilliant. So that was really nice. Well done. I thought I would read you a story because it was very nice reading some stories to the children in school on Monday and Tuesday. But I thought, hey, why don't I read a story so that everyone at home can have a story too? So I hope you like it. It's by Oliver Jeffers. It's called Lost and Found. I love Oliver Jeffers because his illustrations are just always so beautiful. Once, can you see this? Actually, let's move this back so you can see the whole thing. Okay, ready. Once there was a boy, and one day he found a penguin at his door. Random. The boy didn't know where it had come from, but it began to follow him everywhere. Oh, it must have liked him. The penguin looked sad, and the boy thought that he must be lost. I can tell that he looks a bit sad because he's kind of like slunched down a bit. His eyes are looking at the floor. He looks a bit sad. So the boy decided to help the penguin find its way home. He's gone, it says Lost and Found Office. This is the desk of just a man. He checked in the Lost and Found office, but no one was missing a penguin. He asked some birds if they knew where the penguin came from, but they ignored him. Some birds are like that. When you ask birds questions, do they respond to your questions? The boy asked his duck, but the duck floated away. He didn't know. That night, the boy couldn't sleep for disappointment. He wanted to help the penguin, but he didn't know how. But it's nighttime and everyone's asleep, but you can just see just over there. You see that light's on. I'm guessing that's him. He's awake because he just can't sleep. He's so worried. The next morning, he discovered that penguins come from the South Pole. But how could he get there? He ran down to the harbour and asked a big ship to take him to the South Pole, but his voice was much too small to be heard over the ship's horn. Look, that tiny little boy, that's the lighthouse, and that's the huge ship. Pretty big ship. So, together, he and the penguin would row to the South Pole. The boy took his rowboat out of the cupboard and they tested it for size and strength. So I guess they wanted to make sure that it was big enough to fit them both and it was going to be strong enough to let them row all the way to the South Pole. They packed everything they would need. You can see they've got an umbrella, very important. And together they pushed the rowboat out to sea. It's them pushing it into the ocean. They rowed south for many days and nights with the boy telling stories all the way. The penguin listened to everything that the boy said. If he listened to everything the boy said, I wonder if he's really enjoying those stories. They floated through good weather and bad when the waves were as big as the mountains. Wow. I would be terrified if I was in a tiny rowing boat in those massive waves. Until they came to the South Pole. The boy was delighted, but the penguin said nothing. Suddenly it looked sad again, as the boy tried to help it get out of the boat. I wonder why the penguin's looking a bit sad. He was trying to make him feel happy, right, by getting him home. It says, welcome to the South Pole. The boy said goodbye and floated away. But as he looked back, the penguin looked sadder than ever. Oh, he's supposed to be feeling better. It felt strange to be on his own, and the more he thought, the more he realised that he was making a big mistake. The penguin wasn't lost. He was just lonely. Quickly, he turned the boat around and headed back to the South Pole as fast as he could. At last he reached the pole again, but where was the penguin? The boy searched and searched, but he was nowhere to be found. Sadly, the boy set off for home. There was no point in telling stories because there was no one to listen except the wind and the waves. But when the boy saw something in the water ahead of him, closer and closer he got until he could see. What can he see? The penguin! And so the boy and his friend went home together, talking of wonderful things all the way. And what animals are swimming underneath them as they float along. Oh, I really love that story. The penguin was sad because he was lonely, and then he met the boy and he wasn't lonely anymore, and they became friends. Such a good one. All right, I will see you back here tomorrow, grasshoppers. I hope you have a lovely evening. The sun has come out. I hope you maybe go out for a nice walk and enjoy the sunshine, and have a nice evening with your families, and we'll see you back here on Google Classroom tomorrow. Bye.